and welcome to Dan and Ian Have Questions. Are you interested in people's unique hobbies, passions, and how it all gets started? Well, you're in the right place. These two, like many of you, know a little bit about a lot and always have questions. Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy as they find out what makes everyone so interesting. This is the Dan and Ian Have Questions podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Dan.
And Ian.
And we have questions, and today we have our good friend Dave.
Mr. David Chrisom.
Hello.
Happy to be back with you.
And thank you very much. And I wanted you for this particular, because we got Halloween this all month because last week we
it's
talked
one
about?
day, but we celebrated all month.
Yeah, it's all, well, everybody knows that Halloween never ends. It never stops. And last week we talked about movies, or the movies that we prefer. And I actually had a collection that I wanted everybody to know about. And so it's like I got this great classic, the Turner classic movies that has Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Freaks, The Haunting, and House of Wax. And I talked a lot about the Haunting.
I was going to say, that and Freaks came up last episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to delineate between Freaks and Freaked.
Oh,
the 90s release with, like you said, Bobcat Goldthwait and Bill from Bill and Ted, and there was a bunch of others. But David, thank you for joining us. What is your go-to like Halloween movie? Like, if you said, like, somebody's like, all right, put on one thing right now, like, what would be the thing you're like, that's the easiest? Okay, grab that off the shelf, throw it in.
There are two go-tos, and one of them is the Werewolf movie. So the first one, I'll save that. The first one I always go to and that I make my family and friends watch is John Carpenter's The Fog. I absolutely love The Fog.
You've said this a couple times, and I've still yet to see it, and I keep feeling bad that I have not watched John Carpenter's version.
It is a famous running joke amongst friends and family that if there's nothing going on, I'll look around and go, "It's a great night to watch The Fog."
The Fog.
I have yet to watch it with my brother and his wife. He says the only reason to watch it is for Adrienne Barbeau's tight sweater. But
Adrienne Barbeau, I mean, she is a grandma. She is a grandma with a good body. That's what happened in the Swamp Thing. I was very what is that? I didn't know what to think with Swamp Thing. Adrienne Barbeau. Liz is coming over here and giving me the side eye, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, Adrienne Barbeau, she looks like a grandma with a supermodel body. It's weird.
Yes. I'll make you both jealous. She came to Boston and watched The Fog with us at midnight right before the pandemic. She came for a screening of The Fog in Cambridge at Coolidge Corner. It was a terrible copy. It had almost turned yellow, but she got up on stage and talked about filming it, what it was like filming it. She had been married to John Carpenter at the time. She remembered it fondly. She remembered all the actors. Some of them got roles because they were friends of hers. She was awesome. And it was so cool that she was there with us while we watched it. And for those of us that were Fog fans, it was a great evening.
Oh, I thought she actually went to your house. I thought she went over your house.
She did not come to the house. I'll give you a little thrill. She was touring in a musical called Pippin. And in the musical, she plays the grandmother, mind you. She hangs off a trapeze while she sings her song. Check it out on YouTube.
Whoa.
It's amazing. She's an amazing woman. So a real beauty too. So there you go.
Yeah. So that's the one thing is, like, I only know Adrienne Barbeau from the ridiculous parts of film history, but you have an honest to goodness version of it that I've never, thought about. But I just Adrienne Barbeau immediately. I'm like, Swamp Thing. That's
I
find what I think of.
I find her so incredible in The Fog because she spends most of the whole film in that lighthouse. And she has to be by herself and build up the tension and be afraid for her child. Like all the other actors got to work with everybody else and play along and play the scary scene. She's got to do it all by herself. And her tension in that movie is still so awesome. No matter how many times I see it, I love it.
Yeah.
In fact, a friend of mine just went to Point Reyes and got a picture of the lighthouse and sent it to me. It said, I'm here. But seeing how we're talking about werewolves tonight, my go-to werewolf movie is Joe Dante's The Howling.
I have still not seen The Howling.
Oh my God, Ian!
It's been a long time.
At the sweet age of 13, my mother took me to the movies to see it with my brother, and it scared me, made me laugh. But we had also seen American Werewolf that year, and I loved that. But American Werewolf looked fake to me. The werewolves in The Howling looked real. They stood on their hind legs. They slapped people around. I had never seen anything like it. And it really stuck with me. And I think that all the werewolf movies that are made today, like Werewolf by Night or the remake of The Wolfman, they're all paying homage in some way to all the werewolf movies that came before.
Well,
and
sorry. What's the other movie, the other werewolf movie you were suggesting?
American Werewolf in London.
Oh, okay, American Werewolf in London, and then The Howling. Okay, because like the funny thing.
Hey guys, we have somebody joining in.
Whoa!
A special guest who I didn't know if was going to be able to join in, Mr. Brian V. Klein from the Stranded Panda Network and from Source Pages, the podcast, and he has gone extensively into Werewolf by Night, and it's great to have him here with us. Let's see, we're still connecting.
Oh, okay, it's over now. Oh, still waiting. I guess it's
here he comes.
There he is, Mr. Brian. What's up, buddy?
So that's what he looks like. That's what he looks like. Haven't seen him in a while.
I know. Yeah, it's been too long. We all haven't hung out.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you know me and Dan, but this is Mr. Dave Chrisom.
Dave, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Brian. I love your shirt.
Oh, thanks.
Demon Slayer Core.
All right. So actually, you just came in. Actually, it's just a good time. We haven't even started talking about the show or movie special, whatever. I don't know what you consider it.
Special presentation.
Special presentation.
Yeah. So
first of a bunch now. I guess they announced their.
Oh, really?
Really?
There's going to be a bunch.
So they're going to do a couple like one-offs for each, but I'm guessing they're all going to tie in some way.
They're going to use it to introduce new characters, like pretty much like they've got 4 or 5 already set up for Gambit and Beast and
oh,
like the
good.
X-Men.
Oh, really?
So
okay,
good.
See, now Dave, Brian is our resident Marvel, Star Wars, everything expert on the Stranded Panda Network, and
geek stuff. Yeah,
he's on Source Pages, like I said, with him and Haley. Unfortunately, Haley couldn't join us to the revelry.
Her friend from Canada just came in, and she's only going to be here for like a day or two. So
yeah, that's a good reason to not join in.
Priorities, man.
Yeah,
priorities.
She likes you, Ian. She doesn't like Dan.
Oh, come on! Look, I lost an eye. Oh wait, that eye.
Okay, he lost an eye.
That eye. I don't know where.
It's a typical sentiment I've heard about people.
Dan's so cool. Maybe.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
Maybe to let's see. Just going into this, did anybody have any expectations? Like David, did you have any expectations, like seeing the trailers for this coming out? Maybe knowing the comic history of this with Werewolf by Night. The only thing I know about Werewolf by Night, and I'll be very honest, I don't know a lot about this. So I'm the guy that's going to come in and I'll be the dum-dum. But I know Werewolf by Night was the introduction with Moon Knight. Right, Brian?
In the Monster Squad. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff that in the 70s introduced.
So in my head, I'm like, oh, Werewolf by Night, we're going to see Moon Knight because I know there's that connection. And that's not the case. So David, what did you expect going into this?
I am also not that familiar with Werewolf by Night. I think I picked up the 2020 comic when it came out because it had a gorgeous werewolf cover.
Oh, really? Yes.
All I knew of it before from the 70s was that there's this great haunted house 70s movie called The Legend of Hell House, and an adaptation of a great story by Richard Matheson. And Werewolf by Night adapted it into 4 comics. I would love to find so I could see what that looked like, but I've never seen that. I had heard of Werewolf by Night, but never really engaged in it. I was more Batman, Superman freak growing up, and I liked in my 20s I got into the X-Men, so that's how I got into Marvel. The Jim Lee X-Men was a great run.
Oh, really? So that was your jam.
But I grew up loving the old black and white horror movies, the Wolfman being one of my favorite all-time Universal monsters. So when I saw the trailer for this, I was really engaged because, wow, what they were doing with black and white was completely unexpected to me. Where everything Marvel has done is in color. And they really use the rich, deep black shadows that I remember from the old horror movies before they were digitized and look pristine now. Sometimes on Creature Feature, it was hard to see what was going on. And like an alien, all those shadows make it scarier because you're not really sure what you're seeing.
Right.
And then, did I just see that? So without knowing anything, I was really excited to go in, and also from the cast because I liked the actors.
Oh, really? Was there anybody that stuck out to you in particular?
I was really surprised Laura Donnelly was going to play the female lead because she was just starring in The Nevers for HBO.
Right.
And that's where I was introduced to her, and she's an awesome lead character. And I was really excited to see what she was going to do with it. I expected we'd see season 2 of Nevers before I'd see her in something else. And the fact that she was jumping into Marvel, and I understand that she and Brunel were probably going to turn up in the movies later on, I was excited to see what they were going to do with the werewolf and the girl. So, I was pretty intrigued.
Yeah, this whole thing seems like kind of a one-off to me. I mean, Brian can fill us in here later, but like, I mean, I hope they keep doing it. And then, like you said, they have other things slated. Brian, is there like, do they have titles out there like that they're approaching, like as far as like what they're going to do, but they just said, we're going to do these kind of things over again?
Yeah, they said just for an easier way to introduce new things. And I think especially with this was very pointed in a theme. It was a Halloween episode, but it also introduced 2 minor characters and a major character. Elsa Bloodstone is a major character. She's basically like one of the biggest monster hunters in the Marvel universe.
Oh, really? Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, and then we also have Man-Thing, which when you saw the trailer, you saw like literally like 2 frames of him pop up.
That's what we were waiting for. Ted, or what's his name?
Ted.
Tom?
Ted. Ted. Yeah. So that was just a great way to introduce them. How they're going to utilize them, we don't know. Right. But in order to utilize, because they're coming in with this whole new, with the multiverse, it's the easiest way. As soon as they introduce this is the way that they're going to get all the characters that they got from when they acquired Fox and the stuff they got back from Sony. Like, perfect. Multiverse, they've already been around. They're coming into this thing now. Boom.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be multiverse. I mean, this is like kind of anchored in a time.
Yeah.
So this is almost set 60, 50, or 60, 70 years ago.
No, I was talking about the special presentation.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Because they don't want to, because with them being, it would be hard to say the X-Men have been around this whole time when they're so deeply ingrained with like the race and stuff like that. And with, it's certain, and just like the way that they've been connected, they can't have been around for the last 150 years and no one noticed them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But with this, the thing that most intrigued me is me being, like you'd mentioned, a total media file. I wanted to see how Gina Giacchino was going to do in the director's chair, because this guy is an amazing composer.
Right. Yeah. Because he's done music for a lot of the for Up, for Ratatouille.
It was Rogue One, wasn't it?
Yeah, Rogue One. So like he is well known, because I did some some
prolific
quick research
nowadays.
There. Yeah, and like he's directed a few things, but they're only like kind of like short films or behind the scenes such. And I was reading about, actually his brother actually did all the filming of behind the scenes, the making of Werewolf by Night. So it's like the whole family is involved somehow.
Giacchino is pretty much almost like the dreams do come true type of thing, because he sort of got into it doing video game music back in the 90s.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams discovered him. He started doing Alias, and then he did all the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Then he jumped over to Disney, and he did The Incredibles, he did Up, he did Ratatouille. He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
crazy.
I mean, I was just listening to the Rogue One soundtrack today. He did that. And plus he's done like He just did Multiverse of Madness. He did Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh, he did Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff in the MCU too. So this guy is right. I mean, he's done most of the Disney stuff recently.
So it's like,
then they're like, here you go.
It's wait, is it Michael
Giacchino?
Yeah.
Giacchino? We got Ludwig Göransson. Who else would be like one of the outstanding composers of today? I can only think of like Giacchino and Göransson.
There's a bunch. There's Tyler Bates. Zimmer's still doing stuff.
Zimmer.
There's a lot of stuff that are out there. It's just that it's not, the old guard is passing. I mean, with Williams saying he's done, but the thing is, though, Williams was the blueprint that a lot of people, you listen to Giacchino stuff, you hear a lot of Williams in it with the themes being reused a lot. And there's certain guys that you could hear people that have been influenced by Zimmer, or guys that were influenced by, I can't think of the guy that used to do all the spaghetti westerns. That's just finally.
Oh Jesus! Yes, I got it on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it, but
Enrico Marconi.
Marconi, yes.
Yeah. So
I had to get it in there like Jeopardy. Marconi. Just yell as fast as I could.
But just going back, and also like one of the things I saw, first off, this was really cool because they just announced this at D23. Like it only was out they knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
Because Giacchino all the stuff was in place, but they didn't finally announce what it was till like 3 weeks before it aired. So like, boom, here you go. And
this seems like when I was looking at, just the trailers and the production, once I saw the episode, I'm like, man, this is a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of thought and story and structure, everything that they kept secret.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, we only knew about it when it was coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Brian might be able to tell us. There was probably rumblings in the underground and people that knew that this was coming out in some way.
We do this thing over on Stranded Panda I think we got about 200 people in it this year. We have a Marvel, an MCU fantasy league. You get to pick 10 people. You get groups of, our league is 6 people, but you get to pick 10 people. So I had a team of 10, and then you get to call your Hail Hydra shot, which is a character that was not introduced, not scheduled to be introduced, but he could possibly show up.
Right.
It's the what is that? What is the Satan in the WandaVision world?
Mephisto.
Mephisto. Yes, they kept saying Mephisto. So that's.
I had heard rumbling. So when we did our draft back in February, my Hail Hydra pick was Werewolf by Night, and so I got my 10 bonus points.
Nice.
So nice. But the funny thing was that they had it was a great kept secret, but people pretty much knew. But it's sort of like there was so much. If it would have been the only thing that was on the docket for Marvel or anything, you would have seen all the stuff leak. But since there's so much stuff coming out, we just did it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and they kind of telegraphed this in Moon Knight with obviously having Werewolf by Night being a QR code on the walls of
that's right,
the museum that they're fighting in, or actually walking through at the time. No fighting, no nothing. But if you scan this QR code at the right time, it would take you to Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight's first appearance. So that kind of stuff was cool, and it seemed like they were setting this up in some way with just knowing that where he came from this particular set of storylines from Werewolf by Night, but not being. I don't know how it directly ties in because, like I said, I'm dumb. I'm just watching this as everybody else is watching it. It comes out. I don't have the background, the history, and all that stuff. But yeah, it seemed like they were setting it up with, obviously knowing from Werewolf by Night that they were going to do something tying in. So this whole time, me as a dummy, I'm like, is Moon Knight going to show up? Is he going to come crashing through the ceiling and bust Man-Thing in the giblets? What's going on?
I think from the time period, but we really don't know what the time period is in this.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like almost like the 40s or something. Like,
well, and it seems like
feeling. No, it's
like the 60s to me, but I could be wrong.
I think because they didn't really do anything other than to really date it, other than some of the clothing, maybe. But that could just be like ceremonial. I have a feeling this is set in like modern time.
Yeah, I think so too. Because like, if hold on,
I'll shut the fuck up. I'm sitting up.
Because I actually what I really focused on was when we went into the crypt and we saw all the different all the different coffins of the people and the dates. There were a couple of people who died in 1968, or they were born in 1868. There seems to be like, but I did see one person where they died in 1988. So it's like, I don't know where this is supposed to take place, because I was thinking the same thing, where it was I thought it took place in like the 60s, because it had that whole 60s vibe, the black and white, and the whole like style and the
Did
look
you
of
guys
budget.
notice the every 15 minutes the little black dot in the upper right hand corner that
right
did the like the real thing?
Yeah,
wait.
Yeah,
What are you saying?
the
Let me
film
see.
burn. Yeah,
I think I missed that.
Back in the days when they used to have the reels at the
there would
theaters
be
and
like
they
a
would
little
change.
bloop.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
There was 3 of them in this.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Was
at
there
the
some
15
kind of like
There was
thing
a
that
black dot in the upper right hand
Yeah.
corner that would pop
Right.
up, and it was like, oh. They
Yeah.
did the same thing for this as they did with WandaVision. WandaVision, the episodes were recorded with equipment mimicking the equipment that was used at the time. So this was, if you could tell, it was shot in HD, but it did have the little subtleties. But it also like the set. As soon as they went out into the
film grain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the sets were amazing. Yeah, because they, like you said, they did a composite shot of a big giant labyrinth, but just the cinematography of that labyrinth made it very, very tense. Like I didn't know exactly what was going to happen in the beginning, so I'm like, okay, these people are walking into madness. There's going to be a werewolf. There's going to be a flipping vampire coming. Like, no, I didn't know it was just one singular monster. Yeah, right, David?
The cool thing about the setting too, I think, as Brian's pointing out too, they were clearly on sets like you would have been in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s.
Yes.
So it had that universal monster feeling. We weren't really outside, which also added an air of something's wrong here. Like, what part of the world is this? Where is this place that they're in? But it's cool that they shot. You can tell they shot with the same type of equipment back then, or the same stylization back then, because the darkness of the film and playing it with light and shadow and the way the moonstone glowed red, but it gave off this kind of power too. Like,
oh yeah, that was the one thing I noticed.
So
is
cool.
Like how they decided to do the red effect off the bloodstone was they would have it really high in focus in some stuff, but people getting attacked wouldn't necessarily have a red beam attack, so it didn't look over the top, because the only time you saw it was when it was supposed to be an immense power that everybody was supposed to be aghast about.
I know for sure that in reading about the history or the background of this film or the presentation, is that they purposely made it black and white just so the gore won't be as pronounced as if it was done in color, which I think I mean, it was a benefit to them because it definitely
would have
that
made it
feel.
an MA rating.
Yeah.
They kept the rating down on it. And also it would have let the sets and everything seem a little more camp and like totally fake. When they did finally at the end go to color, which I thought was amazing, with the whole Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the Wizard of Oz nod, and then that last scene with Jack and Ted sitting there was actually, that was outside shot, so that would look a little more real than sitting on a set. So
right
the way that all worked together was just, I thought, fantastic.
It helped build up the creepiness of that place too, didn't it? Like that castle had a feeling, that mansion had a feeling of something really bad happens there, so it shouldn't be bright and colorful.
Well, David, I almost got the like when looking at the like when they do the wide expanse, like to show you how big it is, I almost, the way the structures were built and the way it was stylized, David, I like almost thought it was like the House on Haunted Hill was
totally
it seemed like that it's almost a mansion. It's a very slick, very stylized thing, but it's broken up into pieces and just thrown around this yard, but it still had that a House on Haunted Hill vibe to me.
You raise a good point there, that I don't know that this story has anything to do with whatever happened in Werewolf by Night. I don't know if they ever had a Monster Hunter storyline, But
I know people had problems with Jack Russell and it not being completely the same person, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just thinking back that what drew me in too is I love these stories where people are invited places, like The Haunting of Hill House. Strangers are invited to a haunted house.
Right.
It reminded me of the Indians, where everybody's invited, but there's death traps, and you may have to kill each other. And just like House on Haunted Hill, survive the night, and you win the stone. It's like
you win $10,000 from sleeping in this haunted house.
I don't know that it was totally ever said, but watching it again today, did you guys get the feeling that the evil stepmother didn't mind that? That her
she wanted her to be there to die. She wanted to see her be killed and wanted to see her tortured and pulled apart by the man thing.
The whole scene where she first sees her in the hallway, she's gleeful. She's gleeful because I got Elsa to come unexpectedly, and Elsa's going to get either killed by these hunters or she's going to get killed by Man Thing. I'm going to get rid of her tonight.
Exactly.
Right. That is all unspoken. But from her tone and her anger at the end, she wanted that woman gone.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. I loved the stepmother.
She was fantastic. And they did actually, when they were casting her, I can't think of her name, but she pretty much played the same type of character when she was on Frasier.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ, you're blowing my mind right now.
Harriet Sampson Harris.
So she was.
What was she doing on Frasier?
She was the manager. Frasier's business manager.
You are right.
Yeah, and she was like very cutthroat. But to go back to something we were talking about before, I think that this has to be set in the current time because otherwise they would be, not utilizing the actress that plays Elsa for further use because they can't say it's 40 years later because now she'd be 40 years older.
Right.
So I think that's why that's probably set around this time. So that actress, you're not going to get a bigger named actress like her. You could sort of with Jack be a little bit more loosey goosey with the time frame because he's a werewolf.
Right. But if you remember, they talked about the bloodstone and the bloodstone extends your life. Remember how they described the bloodstone?
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
it's protective too. So
yeah, exactly. So that's the one thing that pointed out.
I think it's not going to be. They've introduced.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we got a little bit delayed. Dan's in the basement as always. He's behind.
Always
it's that pirate hat and the eye patch.
I was going to say
it's Halloween.
Come on, a pirate hat.
Should have seen me before.
They've been introducing so many characters this phase. I mean, the time frames or the time that's been utilized in phase 4 of the MCU is more than the first 3 combined by far. So they have so much stuff out there that it's like everything is being introduced. Boom, 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 boom. They're not going to be able to use them all in the same way they did before. You had a solo movie. They're still going to all come together for, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, the 2 Avengers movies that are scheduled. But I don't think we may not see Elsa do anything until she might pop up in a Moon Knight thing or something, because there's a lot of the characters that do have connections. Moon Knight with Blade and also Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know what the hell to think with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I hear things about Blade. I hear, there's these tie-ins to Werewolf by Night, like you said. And I'm like, it's so weird to me because I know Blade as a separate entity from any studio at the time. They didn't want anything to do with it. They let them use the name. And I love those movies. They're stupid. They're stupid fun, but I think the way they might approach Blade now, hopefully they don't go too serious. I mean,
I have a feeling they probably
other ones
will.
are too serious, but
it'll probably be the same vein as Moon Knight, where it was horror in a sense, it was suspense, but it also had the comedy to it too.
Right.
Yeah,
you're always going to have a bit of levity. They don't want to go full DC where it's sort of at the end of the day you go, wow, that was great, but man, that was heavy. I don't want to see that again.
I know DC seems like it's very heavy. Like Black Adam seems like it's going to be awesome. We get Henry Cavill, like everybody's. We get all this cool stuff, but it's like, what's the end effect? Like, are we all going to be depressed and waiting for the next movie, or are we going to be happy and waiting?
With their last, it's like even with like Aquaman and Shazam and stuff like that, they've had it be a little more, even like Suicide Squad. It's got the serious tone, but it's also got a lot of. It's not to compare the two, but it has fallen back into the Marvel way of being. You don't have to be all.
They're trying to be Nolan. they're trying to find their way into that lock and tumbler, whatever. Like they're trying to fit themselves finally into this group.
Well,
David, what do you got to say?
I was going to say that Marvel also seems to be in this mode of teaming up, buddying up, like Thor and Hulk, Wanda, Vision. They're pairing up their heroes. Yeah. So I could see them doing Blade and bringing in Werewolf and Elsa now new fans of the TV show know Werewolf by Night. It'll bring them into Blade if they don't know the other Blade. Like I grew up with the other Blade film. I grew up with the Blade comics. I got all that. I loved all that. But there may be an audience out of touch with that. So I think what they're doing in a Disney way is let's give you some familiarity with a new character you're meeting. Right. And it makes everybody comfortable. Thor is going to be your heavy hammer, or Hulk is going to be your smasher, but together they're funny.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
And I think Marvel has done the thing that DC has wanted to do, where they can take the piss out of stuff without taking the piss out of the entire franchise.
Right.
They can make jokes, they can do things because people are so invested. It seems like they will go along with it, and they don't make the jokes that seem. Now, Brian might be able to clue me in because I'm not an uber Marvel fan. Has there been backlash from certain movies where you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like that with anything nowadays in the internet days.
We got Andor, everything. So it's like, this is too slow. This is too fast. This is too loud. This is too quiet.
The thing that people the older generation, I consider myself, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm going to be 49.
Oh, dude, yeah. You're like 72 now. So that's cool.
I don't need to have the instant gratification for something. I loved when Disney Plus launched and Mandalorian was weekly, because you get that water cooler talk. You get because I remember watching like Stranger Things and being like, okay, we watched on Friday, come Monday. Where is everyone at? What can we talk up to? And then when they say where they're at, I'm like, I don't know where that break is because I watched all 9 of them.
Yeah.
The weekly thing, you're not going to get the instant gratification. All of a sudden, same with Kenobi and Andor. This past week, first week, people are like, whoa. Then episode 6 happens, and you're like, oh my God, this is like, what?
Right.
So relax, people. You're going to get it when you're going to get it. You're getting this you're getting so much. 12 episodes of Andor is going to be the equivalent of like 4 movies.
24 episodes or some shit, isn't it?
For the first 2 seasons,
First 2 seasons.
That's split.
Season 1 is 12 episodes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because everybody's like, where is this? Sorry, David. Where's the series going? And I'm like, well, it's only got so many episodes. And they're like, oh no, they're cutting that in half. And I'm like, oh, I thought I was getting 24 episodes with season 1. I didn't know it was like, that's
when Gilroy said season one
Jesus.
is this time frame 5 years before Rogue One.
Yeah.
And then season 2 will be years 4 up until then. So that's why they said you won't see K2 in this season, but you'll see him in the next
bullshit. I think somebody said it on the other show that we all know and listen to. Last image of season 1 is K2 coming back. But anyways, we're talking about
Werewolf by Night, guys. How's that going?
I want to say that I totally agree with Brian. I love that, and I'm so far behind. There are shows I haven't watched in the last 5 years. Everybody binges it the first weekend, and I'm like, I like to drag out episode week by week to digest and talk with friends. In the early 90s, I was addicted to Twin Peaks, and that's where this started. Like you couldn't believe what just happened on Twin Peaks because you'd never seen anything like it. 1 minute it was making you laugh, 1 minute it was a soap opera, and the next minute was the most frightening horror thing you'd ever seen.
I couldn't get a wrap on that show because like I watched it really, really late. I watched it within the last couple of years, and I was like, is this a comedy?
No,
is this a drama? Are they making
David
fun of
Lynch
soap operas?
thing.
I couldn't figure it out.
It's a noir with like mythology.
It's awesome.
Like a supernatural tinge to it.
Supernatural, exactly.
No one saw the supernatural coming, and by the time they got into it, Killer Bob was the scariest thing, and the woods at night. This is why I'm afraid of the woods at night. But remember, we had that, and then a year or two later, we had the X-Files. So you finally had television doing horror
X-Files
stories.
came after Twin Peaks?
Twin Peaks. Yep.
Holy shit. Okay, that blows my mind because I thought Twin Peaks was like a a derivative
No.
of that sort.
David Duchovny was on Twin Peaks for a brief time before he did the X-Files.
That's right.
But episodic shows like that, like you saw the Fluke Man, or you saw that guy Toombs who would squeeze into buildings. Right. You couldn't wait to talk to your friends about this. Like, did you see this? And like,
who's the guy that was Lurch in the Addams Family movies, but he was in the Twin Peaks. He was the weird.
He was the giant.
He was the giant.
Yeah, the giant.
He was I forget great. What he was. He was great.
Yeah,
he was actually interviewed at the when we talked to Dave, the other David, actually, a documentary about when the witches came to town. Yeah, the witches of Eastwick.
Yes,
he interviewed that guy.
That's right. So. Yeah. Yep.
He was Jack Nicholson's guy. Yeah.
So David, oh Jesus, what's his last name now? Come on, don't leave me hanging, guys. You guys are best friends.
David Frazina.
Frazina, yes. So he did the documentary on the witches of Eastwick. The witches come to town.
Yep.
And oh shit, I think I just ran out of webcam
juice.
But
just ran out of juice.
Yeah, I just ran out of juice. But it was so cool to hear him. Actually, he came back to town and talked about, kind of celebrated it. It was so weird because that guy's been in Addams Family and Men in Black and Twin Peaks. He's just a weird, tall, bald guy. That's who.
He still had the costume. Remember?
Yeah,
he still had the jacket.
He still
I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah,
that was so fascinating.
All right, so going back to the werewolf.
Hey man, we're just having fun here.
I know, right? Yeah, I know.
If you ever listen to my podcast, we do that every. I mean, it's just sort of like, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tangents.
So she's like, come on, let's get back on track.
So actually, I'm kind of wondering, how, going to Brian, how comparable is this to the comics? Is this just like a reimagined of the comic, or is this like maybe is there a storyline that is relative to this?
Reimagining, or is it straightforward?
No. I mean, the tone was pretty much how the monster stuff always was. Jack Russell as a character, Werewolf by Night. It's pretty much that is his thing. He can become. It's not a monthly thing with the full moon like they introduced most werewolves are in this one. In the comics, he can become a werewolf a lot of times when he gets enraged. He'll become a werewolf. Okay. It's sort of just like the Hulk type thing. With them going the classic route of it, I think it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand what's going on because of the fact that they used where he even said when he's trapped at the end, he's like, "Oh, I'm good. The full moon isn't for 5 days," and they're like, "The bloodstone will make you do it in minutes." Like
exactly.
So they did.
You're screwed.
Yeah. So, and then in that sense, I did like the way that he did the transformation with you hear the bones cracking and then you see the shadows on the wall.
Yeah.
But it was it wasn't like that segmented underworld werewolf we always see now with like the
it wasn't even the American Psycho or American Werewolf in London.
No.
Like breakdown. You didn't see the elongating of anything. It was just all
very human features, but it was also very done. It was done in that style, but it looked natural in the way that they did it. I almost
thought of the Benicio del Toro Wolfman, where they tried to keep his face, but they did the whole prosthetics and
I was thinking of Lon Chaney. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Lon Chaney.
Again, a very universal monster stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. Nice. Yeah, I wouldn't even thought that.
It looks like, from what I see, the director really wanted to do that. He wanted to keep it very natural, real effects, and make you see. He believes, and I agree with them, when you can see some of the face, you feel more for that character. Yeah. Especially, he cleverly saved what the wolf really looked like till he's right over Elsa. Like, you never got a good shot of his face. We know what a werewolf looks like. And he so cleverly, the same way that they direct the original Texas Chainsaw, he focuses on Elsa's horror as the shadow grows behind her. We didn't need to see the cracking of bones and all that. Her fear that something in the cage with her is happening
her
made it more intense. Because for a 50-minute TV show, they never go into how this guy became a wolf.
Right. That's true.
I have no background on his character, but I'm afraid. You don't. I'm as afraid as she is when it's happening.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
This guy almost seems like I mean, as far as the groundwork of bounty hunters, monster hunters that are out there, he seems like the most like
chill,
a trepid, like scared of all of them, even though he has the most badass record.
Right.
So
that's not his record though.
Okay.
He got the token to go there by. You see that he's basically there to save his friend that got if it had not been captured, Jack would not have been there.
But Brian, let me ask you something. The stepmother knew what he was. Did she also happen to lure him there for some reason? Because she wanted him there, it appeared to me.
Well, I think she wanted, because of how the people there were the anonymity between them was huge. The people that had been hunters their whole lives had no idea who the other ones were. Right. So he went in there with the token of the person that had the 100 kills. They had no idea so he was just there by accident. They found out later when he touched the bloodstone and reacted to him. That's how they realized, we have another monster.
You're right. Yes. Yeah.
So, but by that time, like you had said, they made you feel sympathetic for him because in his human form, he had the marks on his face, which he said, I'm just honoring my ancestors, blah, blah, blah. But then you see those things also on the werewolf, knots and the stuff. So it was very much just a enhanced version of his own face as the werewolf. So you're still looking at him going, that's still that, because you feel for him too, because he's just like, first time you see them when they're all in the grounds fighting each other and they're killing each other, Elsa and him meet and they're both like, he's like,
I want to walk away, you walk away, and I walk away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he's very much almost like he doesn't like the fact that he is a killer. And he even says like, I chain myself up. And in the comics, he does that too. When he knows that he's going to turn, because he does turn on full moons, he'll chain himself up and he'll lock himself away and be like, I'm keeping myself from hurting anyone else out there. So
I thought their whole moment in the crypt together is very important because we don't know either of these characters, and she's justly afraid of him because, like any of the hunters, may want to kill her. The fact that he took his tie off and used that to correctly tie off the wound on her leg, you see immediately that he may be this monstrous werewolf, but he's got such compassion for somebody else, and he's going to really help her. For something that's only 45 minutes, you get to know those two characters so well in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And they have a relationship like that in the comics where they've actually had a romantic relationship between Elsa and Jack. And so in her character, in the sense that you get to see in this even just a little bit, is that she is a hunter by blood, but she doesn't like to do this. In the comics, there is a society of monsters that live under ground in New York and stuff like that. And there's millions of them. And she sits there and helps people like, okay, you're either I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to try to introduce you into this society that allows you to be what you are, as long as you're not hurting humans. Like she's basically like the tag that goes between the monster world and the humans. She'll do it when she needs to, but she doesn't do it out of just like, it's a misunderstood thing, I'm going to kill the monster. That's why 20 years ago, she left her dad, because she didn't want to do that like her dad did. And all these other hunters did too.
Now,
so
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I have a quick question. So, and going back, like you were saying, that Elsa introduces these monsters, and then they can go join this underground society. Are they somehow related to what were they called? Like the Marauders? Is that where Caliban came from? The character Caliban?
That's a little bit different, because those are
so
more
it's a different one.
It's like I think they're doing this too to also separate what's a monster and what's a mutant coming up.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that. Yes.
I think they've already sort of because like the Miss Marvel show that was on during the summer, Kamala was known to be an Inhuman.
Right.
But in the show now, they said her gene was mutated, so that they said, she's a mutant. Okay. So I think they're sort of putting that line in the sand of like, these are going to be mutants, these are going to be monsters. They may end up looking the same or having the same things, but we're going to separate them into what they are. One was born this way, and one, a lot of times the monsters in the Marvel universe, something happens to them and they get bit or something other than that. But it's like, because in the main thing, like with a lot of the times also, I'm not going to, on our show, I don't talk about things
you
I don't
go
like.
deep into timelines all the time.
Michael Morbius is a big component.
Wow,
like he works a lot with
that's
the monsters and stuff. Like he actually created the society that lives under there, and he's like their doctor and their governor, and he rules the whole thing. But So they have a lot of ties with that. But other than that, it's just, I think right now, the main point that this show had was it's a cool monster story and it's Halloween.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I that's what I enjoy is like the Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
You know, one time, you know, like the claymation of terrors, you know, like all those things that happened back in the day where it was a one-off special during Halloween. I love that as a kid.
The fact that
the only thing I could do, it was just tune into these horrific Halloween, you know, fun / not things during this year. And it seems like everything's out on streaming immediately, and it's great that they do these things. It's like, we're doing this once, but if you like it, we might do more. No, but I love it. Sorry, David. What?
It's all right. I was going to say that I loved that it started with the special and because I remember growing up, you couldn't wait to get out of school and go home because King Kong was going to be shown, you know, on TV or something. Yeah. And it always started with that special occasion thing. Yeah. And
like
you were like,
the CBS special presentation, the spinny thing and come out with the drums.
It totally reminded me of that. And I'm like, this is awesome.
That's a throwback too.
The attention to detail was pretty amazing for this.
Yeah. And a lot of that was, there was just a released week. I think Disney puts out this podcast, and on this week there was like a 5-minute thing. It's at the 19-minute mark if you want to go check it out, and where Giacchino and Feige talk about a lot of what went into this, as far as the ideas and how it came about. And a lot of it was Giacchino's, you know, this stemmed from a lot of this stuff. And again, this took a lot of, you know, faith in him to give them a project like this as his first. And this is very much not a straight up directing. There was a lot of nuance and a lot of, you know, love and care that had to be put onto this, because there was a lot of things that this normal directors don't do, but you give someone that's like a first-time director, he might not know any better, so it might have even been better for him to go like, here you go,
which makes the action scenes and the set pieces so much more amazing. Like just when the wolf was jumping around from the ceiling to the cage, and he mimicked so many scenes from old horror movies with that, when the wolf jumped on the wall.
How the cage gets ripped open. That's done like off screen, but you see it and you're like, oh my God, the magnificent power of this thing. Like you don't see it happen, but at the aftermath makes you go, oh Jesus.
And that's why I hope when they do the because a lot of the times with the Marvel and even the Star Wars stuff, anything on Disney Plus or the movies, they have on Disney Plus now like an hour long or 2 hour long making of thing for them. And they said that there's going to come out. I hope the making of is in black and white, so you see at least the stuff, because that way you could see it. Because if you see it in color, like we had mentioned,
it totally takes you out of it. Yeah,
like that one scene at the end when they're closing the door to get out of it, and it's a little hallway, one single camera scene, and Jack is just sitting there killing all these guards, and the camera is slowly getting more blood splatter on it. Like that was a perfect if you see that in color, you might be able to see a little bit more of the how bad the set was, but they're you know, they made it look great in black and white.
You see that that the Marvel pretty much standard is the battle in a hallway. So it's like
She-Hulk had that. Daredevil. Check out Daredevil season 1, or all three of them have either hallways or staircases or prison scenes with the Punisher.
Unbelievable.
One static shot.
Right.
I don't want to keep this going too much longer, because I'm glad that all of us could get together. Like, it's me and Dan. It's our show. We got David on here and joining us and giving his, you know, 3 cents. And Brian, I'm glad that we got to have Brian come in. Please go to Source Pages. And check out everything, because they've already done an episode on this. That's why I said I was afraid to listen. I didn't want to listen to Source Pages because I did not see the episode yet when you guys came out. But I also was like, I don't want to go back and listen because I don't want it to taint anything I do. But please go search out Source Pages, and that is what's the best way to get a hold of that?
It's on every podcast catcher out there. I mean, just type in Source Pages on Google, and
Source Pages, the Reading Collective, is that
Source Pages are Reading Collective. And so, for all the people that have come here, because we do a little segment at the end, we're about 1.5 years old now. We've actually gotten, you know, our show gets ranked every week now in different.
That's nice. Yeah,
we were the number 2 podcast in Norway for like 3 weeks back. For some reason. It was just weird. But we have this thing on the end where we talk about our favorite shows that our friends are, and every week we mention this show just it's the easiest thing to describe too, because it's like Danny need to have questions. There's Dan, there Ian, they have questions. Go listen to it.
Yeah.
Boom.
So I told Brian that, I mean, I guess we could talk about on here, but Dan and I have just we want to talk about the things that we want to talk about, the things that we like, the things that are coming up.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of a format change here coming up, is that Dan and I will just be kind of talking about everything that we kind of are into.
Nice.
Yeah.
But while you're saying that, though, our show is we take comics and books that are used as primers for things coming out, continuations for things that are like we've done stuff on Avatar: The Last Airbender's novels because they continue the story, or there's stuff that's like been adapted, or like anything that is a primer for a character, like we did Werewolf by Night. We did a run of that and we talked about it, and then we do a review, and then we compare it to what we read just to sort of see what they picked and choose. Like right now, before this, we did our She-Hulk season 1 comparison. So
okay.
Yeah,
you just got through She-Hulk. She-Hulk, I will admit, it's one of those shows where I'm like, I'm gonna hold out on episodes because it was just one of those things like I didn't hear a lot of hype about. So I was just like, I watched it and I'm like, busy schedule. I'm like, it's one of those shows I decided I'm gonna wait until the hunk is out there and then I'll watch it.
If you go into it thinking it's a legal dramedy that breaks the fourth wall and has that type of aesthetic to it, I think you might.
I didn't have a problem. I watched the first one and I didn't have a problem, but I was just like, I want to consume it all as one big lump.
Well, you're younger than all of us, so there you go. That's what it is. This generation.
I am impatient.
Yeah, I know. I want to know now. I want to know everything.
Yeah. No, but one of the coolest castings that I thought was let me see. His name was Mr. Kirk Randolph. Mr. Kirk Randolph showed up as the most badass monster hunter in this whole show, and with this big beard and his
Jovian.
What's that?
Are you talking about Jovian?
Jovian? Is that his name in the show?
The guy with the beard, with the Scottish accent.
So he was
the Scottish guy.
Yeah, I call it so not Kurt Russell. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, no. He's most famous as the Mohawk guy in the Star Trek movies, where Spock puts him to sleep, I think, on the bus in San Francisco. He's playing his radio too loud, so he's got his big mohawk, and he's like, I think he gives Spock the finger.
And he was also he was the punk rocker in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he was the punk on the Star Trek Voyage Home. That's what it is. And
the Voyage Home. That's the one with the whales.
Yeah. So he's like,
but he was the guy with the radio on his shoulder and giving Kirk and Spock the.
It's not a radio if it's on his shoulder. It's a boombox.
Yeah, it's a boombox. Definitely had a boombox.
Or a ghetto blaster, whatever we used to call them.
Yeah, exactly.
In the 80s, that's
so
make it yellow for calling it nowadays.
I want to go round robin, and I want to thank Brian for popping in here. I want to thank Dave for coming on. Please check out David's Dark Arts, and we got a couple episodes up there now. We got your buddies we got the role-playing D&D buddies. We have the Night House we talked about. Oh, what else, David?
If I can shamelessly plug, seeing how we're on the topic of werewolves, we're coming up to Halloween, and it will be the 1-year anniversary of the publication of my first anthology with John Grover.
Yep.
Call of the Pack, Dark Werewolf Tales.
Yes.
If you have not read it yet, I encourage you to pick up a copy and enjoy.
That's on Amazon easily, right?
On Amazon, and it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get it in digital download, or you can get it in paperback.
It's very good.
Our goal was to set werewolf stories in places you did not expect. Trains, spaceships, planets.
Spaceships. I want to see that. I want to read that one.
Yep. The very first one is a short story about a man who's about to transform on a train below Boston. And I wrote that on the subway going in and out of Boston. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Brad.
Right, what you know. But that's my shameless werewolf plug for tonight.
Yeah, sounds good. D&D are in the same neck of the woods here. They're in the northeast, or the Boston area.
South of Boston.
Yep.
North was it West
south of Boston.
Bridgewater, and then we got
West Bridgewater, and where are you, Dave? I forget what it is.
Whitman. I call it
Whitman,
Wits End, right on the edge of Bridgewater.
Yeah,
Wits End. I love that.
We are very easily within distance from each other. Very easy distance from each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. So going out of here, I want to wrap this up. Let everybody go. Maybe we'll start with Brian because he's you know what? We'll start with Brian because he's going to be the most knowledgeable of this. What?
Because he talked about it already.
Were you expecting, and what did you get out of watching this? You get what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, after seeing the trailer,
were you expecting and what did you see?
After seeing the tone in the trailer, I was really excited.
Yeah.
And going into it, I was sort of just like, I do a thing now where I watch stuff on the weekends when I'm with my girlfriend Liz.
Yeah.
And this Friday when it came out, I didn't get to see her until that Friday night. And so I stay away on the internet, but I'm also a moderator on the Stranded Panda chat. So I got to look at some of that stuff. I didn't see any spoilers, but I just kept seeing all these rave reviews, and the IMDb score was high, or the Metacritic score was high. And this got me more excited. And I'm one of those kind of people that tempers my expectations for a lot of things because I have a tendency to pretty much enjoy almost everything. If I don't like it, I end up not talking about it. Yeah,
that's Brian's thing. Brian gets made fun. Brian likes everything. That's what everybody says. Brian
I'm not quite Kevin Smith liking everything, but I seem to find stuff that I like about
tears strewn down your cheeks every time you watch something.
This is the greatest thing ever. By the time it got done, Liz is like, "You've got this." Like, you were grinning the whole time. I'm like, it was great.
Yeah.
So
no, it was a very fun presentation the way they did it. Yeah.
And the one thing they didn't bring up in the show, but I always thought it was funny that the character that turns into a werewolf's name is Jack Russell.
Jack
Russell Terry.
Yeah. So chew on that for your time off.
Chew on that. David, what did you think going in, and what did you think coming out?
Again, I didn't know what to expect. I was excited by the trailer. What I saw as a fan of growing up with Creature Feature and the old Universal monsters, they got it spot on. And as a writer, I will tell you how hard it is to make you care about characters in 50 minutes that you may not be familiar with, that you may not have understood. Because the first night I watched it, it all overwhelmed me and I loved it. I've watched it 2 more times and I love it more and more as I watch it. I can pay attention now to the battle scenes, to the way they're using light and dark, to the thrill of when the stepmother attacks the wolf at the end and then she gets attacked. And you're telling me this is the first time he's really directing something like this? Mm-hmm. That is not easy. So the way that it's crafted to make you understand the characters, get to know them, like them, and fear for them, and have an awesome kick-ass ending in 50 minutes, it's genius, pure genius. And I love that Marvel keeps changing. No one expected WandaVision when that came out. Wow, that was brilliant and completely a whole new direction for the character. Then you get Falcon and Winter Soldier. Then you get, the best part of these TV shows is they're going in directions you could not have expected in the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. And as you notice, we're well into the Marvel Renaissance, TV Renaissance. Where all the good quality stuff is now in the TV, where before it was kind of like an afterthought. Now we're actually like they have these characters that are really well written, and that people can care about, and everyone's engaged when they're watching it. And this is definitely one of those ones where it's just like a lot of the characters no one really knows about, but the writing of it is so good that everyone is drawn towards them and wants to know more about them. The details that they have of the mansion, the different heads of the different monsters, the beginning of the writing, and when they talked about, before there was like the capes and the Avengers and everything like that, they were like the monster hunters, and they showed it that like it's not just European monsters that you see there's mentions of like a Native American legend, the Wendigos, that was mentioned in there. And I guess also in
I missed that. What? I really missed that.
Right in the beginning there's like a drawing up, like a wood block cut drawing of a Wendigo.
Wendigo.
And there's a lot of nods to some of the lesser known Marvel monsters on the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
heads that were like taxidermed.
And also, I guess, like in the back as well, there's carvings of what's his name, the God Killer,
Gore the God
Butcher. Gore the God Butcher. Thank you. There's I guess there's like a mural of him in the background as well. So it's like everything is just kind of married together into this thing where like you can watch what the character is, watch what everything's happening in the foreground, but the background there's stories that are still like happening even back there.
Dude,
and I enjoyed every bit of it, man. And I prop this one thing up real quick.
That thing.
One real quick thing. And I kind of wonder if the Bloodstone has modified Jack Russell to become the more character that is in the comic book, where he can turn into the werewolf whenever he wants to. Like maybe it changes his curse or like his genetics, where it modifies him to be able to actually control whenever he becomes the werewolf, unlike before, where all he would just turn a werewolf when it's a full moon. So I kind of wonder about that when we're going to see him again, where it's going to change it that way.
That's a really cool theory. Yeah. Think about that. That makes it more. But I did want to end on this one too, is like this was not the first appearance of Man-Thing in the MCU though.
Oh, really?
Thor Ragnarok, when they were on Sakaar on the tower.
That's right.
But here's the thing is though, one of the other pictures other than Man-Thing was Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill.
Character there.
Yeah.
Yes,
I love now that we know who Man-Thing is, you've got Bill and Ted together.
Shit.
Funny.
We got Bill and Ted together.
That's awesome.
Better Ray
Good night,
Bill.
guys. I'll be here all week.
Yes. Thank you, Brian, for coming in here.
I really appreciate it, my man.
Seriously. Thank you, Brian, for jumping on. Please check out Source Pages,
absolutely,
the Reading Collective, the podcast collective on the Stranded Panda Network. Correct?
Yep. There's a lot of cool shows on there. We got Star Trek.
Oh, dude, there's tons. You got to get in on the trivia. I can't do it, man. It's too fast. You guys
crazy,
still do
man.
that?
The main thing about the anchor show on the Stranded Panda Network is the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, which is its numbers are up there with like Rebel Force Radio as far as being the biggest Marvel things. Helped us get. I mean, they promote us. We're on there a lot, and so that's why I think we maintain a lot of our listeners. We could see it every week. When I don't really care about that stuff, but I would look at the numbers. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. They put out numbers of like, if your show gets this many in their first week, you're in the top 3%. And I'm like, we do. I'm like, holy cow, we actually have people listening to us. This is great.
I know we have a handful of people that check into this show every week. And it's nice. But hey, everybody that's here to see Brian, I'm glad you came along for this long.
I'm waving on an audio podcast.
Yeah. No, hey,
no, we're doing video. We're advanced now.
This
I
might
shouldn't
go
have picked
out
my
there.
nose so much then.
Oh yeah, he had to trim his nose hairs at this point.
That's why I have my makeup on. The costume.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for coming on. And David, can you please give us maybe your final thoughts and where everybody can contact you and get your books and just reach out to you?
Sure. You can reach out to me at Dave's Dark Arts at yahoo.com. My podcast is called David's Dark Arts Podcast. And my books are on Amazon.com under my name, or look for Call of the Pack, Dark Werewolf Tales. I'm hard at work on the next anthology.
Yes.
Nice. Excellent.
Yes. And Mr. Jakovitz.
Yes. Oh boy.
What are you up to, man? Do you got anything to promote?
No, nothing right now.
This show that we're listening to right now.
I know. Dan and Ian pod at gmail.com. Also give us a call.
That's our email.
Yep, that's our email.
Oh God, do you still have the phone number? I think somebody Tyler or
Tyler
somebody from Florida is like, do you guys like butt sex?
The
Come
butts.
on.
You like the butts. All right,
we got a random voicemail. We're like, get out of here.
You're just no good to us. But
I don't know the phone number. You got it?
I'm trying to bring it up right now.
Geez,
oh wait.
You had to bring it up. I wasn't going to bring this up.
Hold on. All right. Ready? It is 216.
216.
Yeah, 216-512-1991. That's 216.
Hit us up with some voicemails.
Yeah, we're standing by. So give us a call and don't be shy.
We're standing by at all times.
I know. We're hovering over the phone, just like, please call us. Please make this all worth it.
Yeah. But on that note,
what you thinking?
I thought it was great. It was more of the visuals, and it was more of the aesthetic for me. I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was looking at, everything in the frame and just the way I'm like, okay, this is an after effect. They didn't film this in black and white, so there was things that I was just staring at, but at the same time, I thought it was cool. I don't know anything about, what's his name? Not Jack Ryan.
Jack Russell.
Yes, Jack Russell. I don't know anything about him, and I've heard a couple of people I listen to being like, "That's not Jack Russell," like getting mad. But I enjoyed it. My son enjoyed it. Of course, Man-Thing was the thing that everybody was like, I gotta watch this. But no, I enjoyed it, and I hope everybody comes back here next time. We're gonna figure out what we're talking about. We don't have if there's a Werewolf by Night Part 2. I don't think that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. So
no, definitely not.
We'll, we'll see what's going to happen. But I want to thank Brian for joining us, Mr. Brian V. Klein from Source Pages, and
thank you for having me.
Yes, and Mr. David Chrisom from David's Dark Arts, the podcast. And my name is Ian,
and I'm Dan.
And thank you. We had questions, but you know what? A lot of them got answered.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all later.
I'm satisfied.
I was waiting for you guys to go, and we are wild stallions.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or suggestions, write to us at danandianpod@gmail.com or search Dan and Ian Have Questions podcast on Facebook. Intro music provided by Ian Savage. Music produced and recorded by Shaun Vanek at Mercenary Studios. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.